Then I asked Gary, like, why we spent so much time? He said, I wanted commitment from you, not from a sales guy. If you're a founder CEO, your first job is to sell. Okay. Sell the story to hire people, sell to investors so that you can attract capital, go sell to early customers. I think first $1 million, I strongly believe, should be founder led. If you're ever in a situation where you feel like you built a product, but you don't have a customer, all you need is some money and you get a sales guy who will sell. If you cannot sell uh, your creation, your baby, right? Nobody else can sell, right? It's like, if we want like, good muscle, we need to lift the weights. Okay. Because if we don't know how to lift the weight, then it's very hard, right? Because even early sales people look to the founder to learn how to pitch, how to position, how to counter position against the competition, right? And what is prospect listening to, not listening to. I mean, in Minjar, I used to think I'm a really good sales guy, okay? Because whenever I went, we mostly closed the deals, okay? But we had a sales people, couple of them, they always say you come and stuff. So I used to think, okay, I'm really good sales guy and all. But once somebody, busted my belief, saying prospects actually give deals when founders show up. Because if a founder makes a commit, let's say, saying, yeah, we will deliver, we will add this report, we will add this API, we'll implement this module. The entire company, the company could be 5 people, 10 people, or 50 people, is behind that commitment. But when a sales guy goes and makes a commitment saying we will do it, even a customer knows, right? He's a sales guy, so he will not have any influence, right? So never assume that we are better than salespeople, right? I actually made that assumption for a period, thinking, okay, I'm a really smart engineer. Now I'm a really smart sales guy because whenever I go, I close the deals. But the reality I learned was, actually, I asked once this guy who used to be head of infrastructure at Samsung in Singapore, Gary, his name was. I mean, it took us so long, but when I went, they said, okay, we will do the deal and all. Then I asked Gary, like, why we spent so much time? He said, I wanted commitment from you, not from a sales guy, right? So that's when I kind of learned why it's important for founders to show up, especially for the first million. You learn so much about market, your target segment, etc. I think 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, it need not be founder led sales. It could be founder supported sales. But if you get past the 10, etc., then get out of that. I think sales is a specialist job. We should leave it to people when there is a motion, when there is a playbook, when there is a repeatability. But the first million, first 2, 3 million, even first 5 million, 10 million, I think founders should be involved. Even after that, you should always talk to biggest customers, smallest customers, mid customers. I think typical engineer things is we get to the product, right? So one thing, I think it was Sharad Sharma, I Spirit, who told me, focus on the person, not the product, right? I think as engineers and founders, we tend to get to product very, very quickly. I think that's a first big change. I think it took some time for me to get to. These days, I think last 5-10 minutes of the hour is when I really get to the product, So I mostly talk about the person or the place, or sometimes even politics, and because in US now everybody is curious about politics. In India, we used to be very curious about politics. I think we are talking less about politics now here, but they are talking more about politics. Second is, I think, build a relationship. I think this is something that I'm learning again and again. I think we have become a little bit transactional as people. I don't know how many of you have seen Musk sending a message to Larry Ellison saying, "Hey, I'm buying Twitter. How much do you want to invest? Do you want to invest?" The other person, Larry responds and says, "Yeah, I want to invest." And then he says, "Okay, how much?" And then this person is asking, "Can I do $1 billion or so?" And then this guy says, "No, do $2 billion." So it's like, I think relationships go a long way. I would say invest time in them. Just like taking products, building products takes time. I think building relationships takes time. If you can take away one thing, I'll basically say be obsessed about building good relationships. I think one thing uh, I think engineers don't do naturally, but maybe MBAs do. No offense to them, which is they oversell the product, right? Engineers try to generally undersell the product, but I think there is a fine line between both of them, right? So if you meet a CIO, like in my case, the buyer is a CIO. That person is an experienced person, right? So 25, 30, 40 years he's been there. And if you go tell him, I have the best product, I have the magical product, I have the AI, look, you're probably 4,000th person pitching to him, right? So I think you need to basically go and say that, look, I really like your experience, right? This is how I used to start my conversations. It's fantastic to see you being in IT for 30 years. You have seen so many changes, right? From whatever client server to web to mobile to cloud to now AI. I'm sure you have spoken to hundreds of vendors and products and people. All I want to basically tell you is if you give us an opportunity, right, we will work with you as a partner, right? I'm not here to sell the product and run away. Okay. I think people like that because everybody knows, right? However good we think our product is as an engineer, as a founder, uh, and the reality is when we put it in the real world, uh, there is like so many things, right? So if you can set the context that you are there to work with them as a partner, and while you have worked hard to do a good job, but if there are issues you will respond faster. And one of the thing I do, even if my other people go get a deal, I always go to LinkedIn and ping the CIO and say, hey, I know my team is talking to you guys, here is my phone number, and if you guys need help, ping me, right? And thank you for the opportunity, etc. I think being nice and also framing it to especially experienced people. If you're trying to sell to a job role where people are young and they have not bought, maybe overpitch the product. I don't know. But if you're pitching to engineers, don't pitch that everything is perfect, right? Because they don't. I mean, every engineer knows that things won't be perfect. And if you're pitching and selling to a very experienced person, don't overpitch. It's okay to underpitch, but be confident, right? So I think they are different. A lot of people think over pitching means I'm pitching confidently. No, so what it means is, hey, we are really spending time trying to understand this problem, and we have created a good solution, and we are working hard to make this thing better. That's where confidence should come in. But when you are asking for an opportunity, always pitch it as a partnership, especially in the early days. Don't say I have a product, it's beautiful, it's flawless, it works for you. Experienced people can see through. They think either you have not sold, so they'll give you a benefit of doubt, or they think you're really stupid, right? We sold, to one very experienced CIO called Chad Goshen in Seattle, and it's a small deal. And I was telling him, hey, Chad, I want to come and meet you. And he's like, why do you want to spend so much money to come from Bay to Seattle to meet me? It's okay. And I'm like, no, I want to come and meet. And then I meet him. And then we had a lunch, and I was walking out, and Chad basically said, Vijay, you should hire a sales guy. And I was like, why? He said, I told your team, your product is expensive. The first thing your guy did was drop the price, right? He didn't even say, hey, why do you think we are expensive? Right? It's okay to ask. Is it because you think competition is cheap, or you saw somebody else who actually gave? So the really good advice he gave me was, get a sales guy, right? Because your guy did not even ask, because he's an engineer, right? He's a solution engineer. The only thing he thinks is we don't have even a single customer, so let me get a customer, right? I think you should listen a lot more to your prospects and customers. That's a compounding value. If you listen to founder like me, I'll come and tell a good story, you will feel good, but there is very little value. So don't waste time attending events and talking to other founders, etc. I mean, you will learn something, but I think spend a lot of time with. If you have time, waste all your time with your prospects and customers, right? I think we will learn a lot. You know, I think the other thing I'll basically tell you from a experience standpoint is I think we stopped spending time with customers, prospects, right? We think we know everything. We build the product. Now it's even worse. We just ask AI. It's like what to do, what to build, and we just look at data. And sometimes we forget that it's a people, right? End of the day, software is being built by people, for people, used by people, purchased by people, right? So I would highly encourage you to waste all your time with the prospects, right? And it's okay, if people say, I don't want to buy, just hear the patterns. Are they saying because they think you are a very small company, or you are not a viable company because they're a big business, you're not funded, they're not sure you will be in a business or not? Are they worried about you don't have integrations, or they think they already have a big incumbent on which they spend a lot of money? I think listen carefully to prospects and customers more than listening to other founders. you know